Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, this is mute only because I
would be shame.
no be programo mitino ni bo le mute lare.
Well, you want us to go live now, yeah?
Yeah, we can go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Nah? Yeah. Nyari ko nande.
Be jandro e mona famba to ngase ama programo se afro. Ngoya se.
Yeah, but the time is it's gonna be a bit late, isn't it? So we send at 6 o'clock to them.
Don't worry. More than that.
Yeah, it's fine. You can say I'm into Facebook or
yeah, I'm saying to Okay, assalamualaikum badimulu nata murutanari koto ke dai kachato janning koto ma ale be jam dimala fana bay mane kundan kolo mati bari anyway nata kana ka kacha parce que nyimu doy kachalete mbenna broda batula fana be nala le nyaata domandi abe mitnol la moy kan say mitin kuma ba me ngalo ko mbake kan but anyway ntel be janne pour kana ningambe no le kacha katum Gambia problemo warta bare problemo mem warta jama me ngalon ko ate buka bayno hana ko tata fam asi sifatan fanso wuluno asi kelo wuluno banko kan wolum kene kuwati adum kene ko mo kuleti me ngalon ko a problemo nyantale ka bang Gambia parce que namam bang Gambia nyato sinin abena me wulula obekela masi bolti banko e woto mbal hako danila lietitale kana juto isu sol melalon ko ngi articulate num bemitino lo kono num bari ntel ngamitno nyum bulat nata nga promiso mendi pour ningam benno ci promiso nyum fulfill kaje natale Gambia la kene ku problème o mengalon ko abi Gambia doido kum fala nyame nata na wole kacha parce que abe kumaya la bake na policy nim programme long political party le men soto pour kanim kele ko bang kene ko problème o bang Gambia kono parce que ni kene ko problème o bang Gambia kono abe badi yal kuntu kanne abe sinyo yal kuntu kanne abe sate nani nyoya fa kuntu kanne wo be kala masi bolti Gambia kono woto nimbade mabe jam def mane experto lo mati nyin karola adum ay doy la programme nim policy jamale lo bi aba ko indi la bi ndeliye mune soto alien ko monkolu specially Gambianol be mba fole bismillah ise fam fo Gambianol le folo because askeno mo jamale no bon tele platform bo mol askeno mo jamame lo wol kon so jumala mu def maneti
wa alaikum assalam wa ta'ala barakatuh mun fina baji be ro nga fa assalamu alaikum okay dame ko non ko nimbara butu kay ngalbe kontom baki alto la nol kontom la dame ko nan ko ya fa nyami bi kay sene o malam so mani ko nan ko bien dani dame ko nan ko fati ko nan ko fona be ala nyata da bande kay butu nyimol fodo moro de ba butu alhamdulillah mashallah butu ambal be kontona bake te df manere mun toti ya mota burfudu borin ba Angleterre jan meti jan sanye ngambina since early to mid 90s I live in England anyway but in modern mu kombo burfudu koti so I have anyway mark regular Mankalan expert it's just basically I have a passion because called me beke kan kombo bankola I'm correct so I think the way energy the enthusiasm in land coal investigate KGB how we can fix the problem but I'm Gambe be the problem or the combo called my problem because Combo is not an island combo ningambe coal build that Gambia being bad in olati do bota combo burfoot bari imumul bota yana to dungo wulile ante wuli mul bota samile e wulli bota nyomele e wulli bota la jama be ntol Gambian ko dal anyway so mboka chala ke kan jambi nga fo nyami ni momo benjibe kan ni fana e question of minister na sambala ja manke expert in anyway but nge hakli sa fen ko dalo hakli shale anyway so jamu badi mbongolti so ita demanding long Mr. Drame demanding long mi atmi fata manjibe ka demanding long nimbe ne nying idea get together then maybe it's a new problem more solve no because I come to Mr. Drame afo nyami the situation of nyami land ko sa ko combo it's not gonna end nicely. So because Kombonko they feel that ko molke la inheritance e bol taka. But mana bali dan la dal anyway. Maninga kawani anin tuba kan ka jahas jasle. So nga fole mand English. So butu also ngamra dal I didn't understand that anyway. So abol nyama dal. So butu mbal salam la nga fale butu be jambe badi bu. Ne question mi so dal ya fonje but fale nga jabi. Bari ni saying so demanding Drame kundanko yin lan ku kacha ba dua atodu nimba lan ku kacha kan Gambia it all goes in government kabrin jawral tamolo bon fo jambel tamolo fo atodu barol tamolo right now masa kundanko imantra mako ikan kanyin lan ku problemo bang Gambia bari ni diam to moy doy uncle Halifa lamo great uncle Sidi lamo Mr. Toure lamo even the last man grassroots person in doy and it all it be strategy min fole it be mean ideal min fole ko inyanta kalan ko problem o solve nyami is very very clear so wala sabu ko kombonkolu political party si ata Gambia but the political party means an problem mo min kombonko right now min kan buka sino all muntola lan code so parti min bije min so solving na ka fonye la jahran ibuka voy ko parti do di ambe bi e kuma do fo do kuma do no do coming for straight the same thing all of is one voice one message constantly the same message they don't deviate ya fo ko ila banko ti ila fanko ila inheritance law but mu nga fo nyami ko bobota Gambia le so fo ko mon ko fona Gambian ko fona they have to face muna fang mimbe ko mon ko tamin bel tamuje bari ba kala nyaadi le janni kam mola banko busial yaadi modo lewol ke millionaire oldi ya bonde minibuli man fentol bulu doy ko oba bannale so banko min tulo jasa mobe nafa bari min fana tamati akana te ko wole taraje ike fuwari balti min tantati wole na ke millionaire oldi wo mon correct so doy ko lo fonye from day one ni manifesto lamo ila policy lamo even if we speak to them verbally the message is always the same we will implement strategies we will implement policies many along ko learning as a mobi benefit as a banko be benefit as Africa for be benefit because DOI is a party like that we more like how do you want to call it it's more than just a Gambia DOI is like it's a pan-Africanist movement. So DOI is more than a political party. It's an ideology, obviously. But at the same time, is if you think about it correctly, if DOI left a policy implement the new Gambia, you will see what will happen. So I'm so introduction of Moti ala mole they are more in kachajing aba fenko mintala anyway.
Okay. DF Manne for Mr. Manne segment no lefta in ka damena very lefta ka story ndinna fo e follow jandi be ngin kala wala
No problem.
1998 kabile 96 jamme ganyeta 1998 anata nasate to manna because janna bena atara ko farole ben to 6 km nasate wala tam 6 km ning silole be faro nyim fara silo mi alo ko wala kan dol samba base wala kan samba the only hospital membe orijono be kono tu wo silo men kan samba woto wayo faro le fara bara kilo nyin kartan dola 2 km le be woto faro silo nyin kartan dola 6 km le be woto kabrin jamme nata ako asulata 2 km nyimbe dame dan fa kundan ko yo afu ala kuma kawni because o mitino ni ndala broda tarta je ndalbe dindi yarne bot na broda tarta because wollom sate fondin kelti wo time atata o mitino kono area council representative fol mel nata e même fe wala mo nyinti ko man sakunda laftal la nyim faro use lale inin green project ko le nata te yak mandi wonya green project ko parce que be badan la il lafta je develop la le be silo nyin dadala be silo nyin jamfandi la parce que nin sama nata sama nin ba fata jibol silo nyi be je ka fayne mini yam bolo so woka fale anin nin sama nata woyol mel ka bo kordal kono aka fale je ka block mol katano basi so joka mo mutala fo jang sometimes yalo mo soto bulano la kono ka fa bita so akabe salole kelaje dan fa kunno kol wiya enthusiasm i contenta o ko la bake bari kamo men fota je wala mo ka fu keno nyin na be hotelo kelaje dan fa kunda de wol be employé la wo hotelo blato parce que ala fta transform la because a badala la to sa sutiata MRC la base so dan fa kunda ko nata keno nyin afuala furo wala fatantole ngaje ko atata keno nyin lis keno nyin 2 km faro akata jamme tati woni bitem momi ka hani yeta yeje sopa yurol de falin tajele sa je kata sutol kabrin 2016 falindiro keta mbulata ko nyin noma hani sinin malon no fombe falo nyin sotola bak fonde falo nyin sotola bak wo mu kilinti 2016 6 km nyi men ka use farola ndafa kunan ko pour ka mano sam aka ke sama kono damal parce que sama kono lan kamano nyi men seneje til gando kono tel kambalu wala so sama kono because mbe firol la mbukata mano mbuka mano soto no fonga tasam 2017 kabri nyi masa kundana tay kenin projet ko la nata kabo France pour kan na faro nyi doku nga faro nyi ta ka bile ke la fta la Chinese so tibe ma ko la masul let 4 years down the line faro man doku man sakunda man doku ke man faro soto back ko company fana ngante low 6 km ni a lisle so wala tam sa te mol tampe nin doy government lamnu wala China ni nin carbonata dan fa kunan kol de kala nyani le wo faro la ko
Mr. Drama, back. We are not, because let's make this very clear. Even though it's an interview, Mudoi party thing called militants, if you want to call us that, but we are speaking here on our own capacity, in our own capacity. We are guided by what Doi said because we believe in Doi. But whatever we're saying here has in our own personal capacities. You mean for Minkatalaji, wo siato combo, wo book about combo. But again, wala nakafwe why Doi is so important, Kodi. Because with Doi, iba tandila mola ko ila banko etel tamu woti. Yeah, again. Ila banko etel tamu. At the same time, Doi, this is my understanding, and I believe in this very strongly. Doi will be Gambian call ke karandi. Katandila ko how land lease actually should work. Yeah, because Nimo nate alaftela bankola. Aka lafta business or kalaje is fine. It bringing development. But there are so many ways of leasing your land. You can get into what we call a cooperative, and this is Doi is always on this message about cooperatives. Afwai, okay, banko banta bulle, itakodo beta bulle, wanta machinery be bulle. Hanimana banko wafia, hanima lisia, nite betal business world. We get into a partnership. We get into a cooperative. Yeah. So that's what the Damfa Kunan call, that's what they should have done. But then again, Yalan ko Jimya Jamel time mode. Koku min diata akawalik. Okay. So but we're trying to move away from that kind of politics.
Exactly.
That kind of like Mialan will brutalize. That kind of like politics Mialan you mystify. Every process in the Gambia is so mystified. It should be so simplified. Leasing your land is 2 forms of lease. You got a freehold and you got a leasehold. Any person who is clever would never give anybody a freehold on their land. You see, I give examples of UK. You can live in a home, but actually sometimes, not all the time, Either you pay a mortgage on your house, but the land don't actually belong to you. You even pay what they call a ground rent. You see. So the original owners of the land, they never lose out. You see. Either you live there with your family, the house is your house, but then you have a limited period of a lease. The lease can be 50 years, or it can be 99 years, it can be 125 years, doesn't matter. But at the end of that lease, you come back to the owners of the land, and you decide what they need to do. If you agree, then you keep on paying them ground rent, or you move. Their land is theirs. Your structure is your structure. So these are all stuff mini alon ko mo sakunda kapin jawra wato nyanta ko start no kamol karandi na puri alon. But mo malo. Dolla kambon ko lu masibo boyta wol kanne. Because wolu yele do jamalu masakunda bijel to nyala ban kon mun ko fana mistake ko ke fana siya bata because ni mistake ko ni among some of them among the fault because ni mon ko lo ka tama nyami masakunda wolu mi le do ko te pour que mol karandi ya fo ko banku wafo e ka ke no te ne ka ke no de bari mangene kile banko fon wafo there are other ways. Other people can also benefit from the land it'll ancestors mean to eje. But at the same time, it will descendants after you don't lose out completely. Because that's what we have. So it all goes back to our people not being educated. And education doesn't mean police a classroom or condor. Yeah, for a degree, so one certificate or so one diploma. So no. Education actually is awareness, cocooning demanding. And do alama a moli hako when you name monk could have anyway. Because they are moments on there. But mo mi anko banko wa fle malon fon le right mi nyami nyanta banko fle nyami yala wol makara wol mam banko fle mon kuninje so masakunda Minister of Lands, physical planning or social service, whatever you want to call them in the Gambia, that should be their duty and responsibility ka mol karandia fo ko look banko nying ni modo so tala de puruka fam keje alafta je ato ka fanya de lafta family keleje ayanta whatever isa fa ko bari hanima wa fiya enyeta into partnership. As a more benefit, but you don't lose your land. So that's my answer on that. So it all goes to people making decisions, but they are not informed decisions. You see, before you make a decision, if it's informed, it's better. Until I go back to Combo, I go to Burfoot, I go to other places. They have an option. They don't know they have an option. So it's better having a condition so that you'll feature the fund the bank call. No, you don't lose your if people come to you, it's not until drama kunako. You can manage a bank call here. But a damn come to more bank waffle. You see, more Burfoot as an example. So I need more jump for the for young stop. Yeah,
no. Kacha.
But I left a Burfoot deal as an example, Burfoot. Combo hundreds of years ago, there are big 4 kabilos there. MANNEH, Sane, Ikafuji Suba, Bojang, and Jawara. Yeah, these are the 4 kabilos. We have a lot of Jatas, but Jatas didn't have a kabilo. Jatas are part of Suba, Sane kabilo. Okay, these people own most of the land. Sane, MANNEH, Jawara, Bojang. Okay, so a lot of these coming for satellite areas mean Burfoot Lasal. Like for example, Tanje. Now Tanje is a big town. But Tanje is a Bojang clan land.
Okay.
So places like you have places like Yuna, Mariama Kunda, those are MANNEH land and Jawara Kunda land. You see. So you got places like let's say Bijilo before that also belong to Sane clan. You see. So when you come, you can live with us. It's no problem. But then problem will become more like to later part of Jawaras and then the very, very beginning of Jambes. Land become a commodity. People realize that they become very, very wealthy overnight on land. So you got what we call land prospectors. In Natanang, they bring a lot of problems on land. So Jambe Bulata Jekamola Bankul Bushida by force, Nima Keno brutalized. So no more Fanasita like in Termana Kabilo for the MANNEH Kabilo in Burfoot. So Nekebas they could look. You get a banko be tambul, Memicala, Matangatala, Momo, Natala Notem. So Yatala model Botra, Yetali Waf. So some of them, there's a big developer in the Gambia. He took 6.6 square kilometers of the MANNEH land. Yeah, Jambe gave it him for free. So some people, many of them, some of those, will compensate. But if you think about it, land me 30 by 40 square kilometers, you marry for about $34,000. But you man couldn't call military land, you force some of them. Ntola Kabilo, 250,000 you can hold in the by force, whether we take it or not. $250,000. You go in the mall, take it or leave it. Yeah, Jeremy came there. This military came there, more brutalized. Then in the end, so some of them people will give him $10,000 here, $20,000 there, and they didn't have a choice. So that's a different story. Me alone for another tough the money, but they are also very, very similar. Because he had them left Mansong, he will take it anyway. He will take it anyway. He will. So what I think is Gambia's solution, because from day one, from the set go, we told you where we stand with people's land. It's their inheritance. You don't drop their inheritance. Even the state has got no right to take people's land from them. It goes against the whole constitution. Number one.
Because there should be a procedure. Silula nyanta tarade pour kamola keno tablo kono. Wala inimo nyanta consensus sotolale dalilo me akendine bala keno tablo ani ba kilo nyinkela munati. Keno famo bukata mo bulla. Mole ka consent ak di pour ka keno nyindi dalilo kamara. Ni be keno tara pour satew bela nafa. Banko bela nafa. Wosilol bijele menga mote tara Gambia kono. Memba volantele keno te yusula pour ka hospital lo. Mota tarno la Gambia kono memba fala ntela keno to yusula pour ka football filolo. Fondin kewol beje dimol beje. Mota fala ko health center te lola ntela kenako. Mota fala ko ntela keno kono la ni conference programme ten sate la programme nyanta kala damenna development kolu electricity kolu bohololu wo mota so la Gambia kono membe so balanda nyina sate development bari mota sonno la nyina fana mota ni accept no la fana ita la family funding ke woro wala nyombe je mela lon ko me fansun keno fa so adi nyanta futu wala sama albe cikirin keno men na man sakunda na ta kaka wa estate tiolem doy to kala muko because wo fan is against the law. So me même fa ko bonko le wolo nyinti alta ale carte fay doy man sakunda parce que ñing ngani de doy la manifestol kono le ko 6 month plan bi jele men ngalon ko ga Gambia establish Gambia la boda bom ñintol but in 1 year time kenol be sumanna le Gambia kono momon di bebe la kenol na itala keno mu muneti ila heritage mu minute be min dole mo bebe wala na so bajala ko ni estate cool ni man sakunda na doron kila keno table la mam me alon ko manke man sakunda la kenoti ngajala ko gol bebe kum fala woto kombon kolu ngamira ni mane kunna kolbe kafla nyoma la nyin siloma ale carte ho fay doye foye muno fodo
nko drama kunna ko le domoro doron barbutu nko ngafo nyami I know ngaje model bijel mina ko maybe imam mandika kamol so maybe ngafo nyami nkani English just the manding at least me mamu in for no said some of the guests are understanding Ingo is very clear. It's very, very important we make this clarification. There is no land in the Gambia that actually belongs to the state. Okay? We need to make this very clear. This State Land Act, they basically rob Kombon because of their inheritance. We should fight it. But I'm coming for Kombon Koliko. The fight needs to be multi-pronged. You have to have a multifaceted war. Is this? Forgive me for using the military terminology. Okay? But it is basically sometimes about warfare. And then in war, you got different battles. Yeah, you got battle theaters. So some of the battle theater is the narrative and rhetoric, you see. Some of them is political lobbying. And the other side will be the legal challenge to this state land. At Mialanko, if you think about it, is basically abusing our constitution. So because my land, for example, something who belongs to me, like I'm going to give you an example of a state developer in Brufut. The land he built on, it belongs to my family. We've lived in Brufut for at least 10 generations. So you can say for 200 years, a land that belongs to me, the state can take it from me and give it on an individual. And then forcefully gave my family $250,000. He said, you take it or leave it. You see. So how do you think we're going to accept that? Then now you got this certain narrative where that person goes out and you got the media basically, I think, you got some part of the media actually trumpeting what he says, that he bought this land, but he knows he didn't buy it. Because we always counter to say, no, he did not buy this land. It was gifted to you, gifted, quote unquote, by Yajame. And then for years and years, this person insisted that he bought this land. But if he knew that when he realized that we are not actually moving, our message is consistent, he decided to change his tune. A few weeks back, he went on his own TV program and he's admitted that first he got some land in Carnifin, okay? And then they took this land from him. He said there was a lot of controversy. That's his own term, word he used. There was a lot of controversy. And after this controversy, 5 people, 5 very, very high, we want to call them very senior officials in the Jammeh regime then lost their jobs over it. So they did a whole lot of what they will do, the shenanigans behind the scene. And then they kind of, okay, we're going to compensate you land in Yundum and Brufut. But listen to this very carefully. The land the Carnifin people forced him from, he already had some funding from Celta Afrique. Okay? All right. But when they moved him, they shifted him. So they used their tactics. This land was 8.5 hectares. This is what he said himself. I'm glad he did because I did my research. That was actually going to be something I always going to bring out anyway. But he seems to know that this is coming. So whether he's trying to rush to it or not, but he came out and he openly admitted it. Okay, 8.5 hectares in Carnifin. He was compensated 10 hectares in Yundum and similar hectares in Brufut. Just because the people in Carnifin were very strong enough, they had the connections and they know what levers to pull. And also importantly, these people are very united and you know they know what they're doing. Kombunkers, on the other hand, for a very long time, that's why I get upset with the Kombunkers intellectuals. I add myself to it. So that's why I thought we need to change now. It cannot be abroad in the UK or America, working in the UN, wherever, having all these certificates and credentials behind your name, and you don't even stand up for your own people. That's the mentality I want to force my people back home to change. Yeah. So it's like it's a theater, it's a multi-theater warfare. So you gotta have the legal, you gotta have the political, but you also gonna have the narrative and the rhetoric. You see? So how somebody could be compensated nearly 18 hectares for 8.5 hectares? Can you imagine? And then I'm going to tell you something here, which is very, very important. This is where Doi comes in. You know, we're always going to circle back to Doi and Doi's strategies and Doi's policies. If this was Doi, it would be the owners of the land, maybe an investor or a cooperative bank. Then there will be what we call a cooperative. You can build a housing association. The people who own the land, they own the land. An housing association or a cooperative, they do the financing. We can have entrepreneurs, architects, constructors. They can come, they can own 10%. So the landowners, for example, I'm giving an example for example, my clan, we could own 50% of this share. The banks, the cooperative can own 40%. Investors, we want people to invest in our community who got money. They can own 10%. Okay? So when we build these structures and they're completed, you can say, okay, 10% of the households, 10% of the house units, if we got a total of 100 units, 10% of that, 10 of those, 10 units of this housing can be given to the local people to occupy themselves.
Exactly.
90 of these buildings can be sold to other Gambians because they also need to live with their families. You see? So if there is a profit at the end of the day, 50% goes to the people who own the land because that's the most valuable asset here. You understand? 40% goes to the banks and what's it called, the cooperatives or the social development fund, and 10% goes to the personal investors. I think that's very, very fair.
It's fair.
So
exactly.
yeah, this is my policy. I mean, this is what I normally speak to Doi people, and that's when I speak to people, politicians back home. I said, they ask me. People do ask me, politicians say, because they see me write about this. I said, so what is your what will be your suggestion? And this is what I always make to them. I said, you cannot make people lose their land. But that doesn't mean that somebody from Banjul, somebody from Kato, somebody from Bansang should not live in Brufut. No. Somebody from Bansang should live in Brufut. No problem. But it should not be at the expense of the natives of Brufut. You understand? Okay.
Plan do fana be doy bulla comme be na housing ke kanyame mba plan kan nyame as extetol melalo ko ngeje be local be house ke kanyame on banku tinyame ite estate 1 kilometer estate law. Single family room. Wabe how many years betala wala nimo lofta o change da al nyanto obe telale a plan ku a loku for 3 or 4 or 5 days. Gambia bankole bembulu mengalon ko a stable tan. Bankole bembulu mengalon ko a flat tan. Hanatra ko man 5-story building lono. But at least 3 family compound mengalon ko iba keno lele ka lo nyoka maybe 3 families tarno jele dole tra tema dole tra santo dole tra duma ninta tamu kenot man sakunda lafta kamma koy ntelo keno kodo man trambulu pour ka kordalo ni man sakunda nata ntelo keno ta ay story building loje maybe 3 or 4 story building mengalo apartment or lom 3 or 4 apartment. 1 apartment is for me free. The other apartment I can use it to rent. The 3rd apartment or the 4th apartment can be the government totally. What is wrong? Gambia bin juma lebe o avoid la. Gambia bin juma lebe balanna wala. Momena lon ko be sirin kombo kono dol be je korte sansawol lebe la korda. Ite ma futala wala korda ma nyaadi le with proper planning mengalon ko silence bono mota batala ya fayam ko ni housing project ko lebe ja mengalon ko ibe full apartment or 3 apartments soto la le mengalon ko wobe construct la le bor atobe kila man sakunda talati wala tobe metula je ini man sakunda ni me profit se akara banku di juma le bala nawla pour ko planning ke bot ngaade le ko ni estetol be cordal men fem lo kante ika 3 bedroom and palo lelo self room lelo mela alonko ike bill foka pare so ni lafta call lo kota ke because ila foundation o manke eta so la foundation o a manke 3 or 4 or 5 story building la foundation o so you have to ina ta be boy la completely ka lo ku kota ke so ye korda o men sam men alonko $100,000 $1 million $2 million ye korda san wala your family so meant that for 6, 7, 8 children in future left a purka upgrade, they have to destroy the whole compound to build it again. So mon planning system nama sakunda aning social security, house and finance ibe mune ke kan wo karwala. Do yi man sakunda wobe mu load la le tala wodo o ko indi ko mon ko la ngamay.
Okay. Mr. Drama Barakabak, thank you, viewers. Like I said, we'll be speaking Mandinglis. We'll be mixing Mandinka and English because I kind of saw in the comments that some people don't speak Mandinka.
Yeah.
But if we mix it, at least you can get the gist of what we're saying. I think it'd be very, very important for Gambians, the governments, and I'm hoping, and I'm very, very hopeful this year, though it will make headway. I think it's about time. It's actually for the Gambia's own benefit, because you see, I'm gonna get a little bit now. I'm gonna get a little bit more sociologist here. Okay, our social fabric, the Gambia social fabric was broken. 22 years of Yaya Jammeh broke our Gambia social fabric completely. You see, to fix that, we need to go back to the drawing board. You see, what we have right now, we're doing what they call patchwork. You see, instead of going back down to the foundation and digging and giving ourselves a stronger foundation, basically we're just building on what we have, and that is not strong enough. You know what I mean? But let me just go back to the point you were making. I'm going to emphasize that I think it's quite important. And Gambians don't need to go very, very far. They need to go just next to Senegal. Just go to Dakar and look at Dakar. Whatever happened in Dakar 50 years ago, that's what is happening in Combo right now. Trust me. Yeah, I spoke to people in Dakar. I got a very good friend. His dad is an elderly civil servant now. It's a pensioner. But what we're saying, this land explosion in Combo, that 50 years ago, 40 years ago, that's exactly what was in Dakar.
So which means we are back.
Yes.
Yes, back of Dakar.
Yes, of course we are. But that's not a bad thing in some ways. I know because the Senegalese are our next door neighbors, and sometimes, your neighbor, But I think there's so many things we could learn from Senegal, and we should never be too big to do that. And they are the closest people we have. When it comes to genetically or familial, Gambian cannot be any closer to anyone than Senegalese. That's just an accident of what they call a trilogy of accident of birth, accident of history, and accident of blood relations. Well, you can never move away from that. Okay, but hearing for thing is very important right now. If you're in Combo, you're building a house. Yeah, you don't think of like your house is not going to get bigger lengthwise, but you need to build it structurally so that where it's structurally sound, so that you can always go upwards. That this is exactly what he said. Because now in Senegal, I was speaking to somebody in Senegal. He told me in Senegal, somebody who basically you can come and buy, they call it a land. You can buy a land above somebody's second story. So the start story belongs to you, which is quite similar to here in some ways. You see. So, but then the foundation need to be strong enough to support that. So this is where legislation will have to come in, whereby builders don't just go build haphazardly everywhere and everybody wants to build a mansion. There's not enough space for us to build a mansion. Okay, I'm going to give an example of this is Usman Gajigo, Dr. Gajigo, is an economist. A few years back, I think it was 2 years ago. I think it might be last year actually. He wrote an article. He just given a rough estimate of the population explosion in the Gambia. So if you do like population modeling of the Gambia, in 50 years time or so, at the rate we are going, Gambia is the 8th most densest country in the world. So when you bring Combo to that, you can probably say we are probably the second most densely populated area you can see in the world. That's Combo right now. So if you give us another 40 years, there's no land left for people to actually what's it called, grow vegetables, let alone anything else. So if we come to a stage whereby we don't even have a new good enough governance system, strategies, whereby we can have good farms, we can have land which is going to be allocated for farming to actually support our people, to feed our people, where do we go? So those are some of the most very, very fundamental, important questions, and which DOI has answers for. Yeah. The land, like I said, you can't just own a land and look at it and say, oh, it's my inheritance. No, the nation has to benefit from what is yours. That's why we are a country. We are a family, after all. So I can't just hold on to something, oh, this is mine, this is mine. My grandfather left it to me when Mr. Fati needs it. No, Mr. Fati should have it. That's why Mr. Fati is my family. That's why Mr. Fati and I live in this little country, contiguous country they call the Gambia. That's why Mr. Drama lives there with me. So that shouldn't be a problem. But the problem comes when it comes at the expense of the traditional owners, the customary owners losing out, and they're losing out forever. So that is a problem. And this is a problem to fix for us.
Baraka bake broda natale na broda Lamin natale jannim ba bismillah la folo mba fala ba dingol ko doy laftale pour ka combo problemo solve bari doy combo problemo ni Gambia problemo solve la nyame wala mu carte kesota ka carte feota ka win carte feota win no la campagne ta kenola fonim ko do sotata doy the fundraising with lamu me beleto, especially maybe next week or member kangame next week long. Momon dimbe London nyanta kadina programo le soto. Ye mo be welcome je aleta programo in Grace. Woto ninku membo nya woman te kutime alonko anyanta tula koma. Adu anyanta katala le fanan doy momon din niyatara koy beyro play man subscribe yenta subscribe la ala la ko bende ni brother Lamin mbe konton na bake mbe bismillah la programme do ini badon suñu konton nata kene ku kacambe wonna ayta Gambia non la doy be Gambia la kene ku problème o banna ñame abaraka bake bismillah
Safia mbe kontona Mr. Drame fanang yala wato tana nyameng kala hajur bulaje kana kadiamu kukuma la mi yala ko nyilo kun tambila be ndol ba kacha kan mbe nyinin karolu ke kan mum problem lel be kering banko kan say manam problem on nyimu wenti ke be kufa kilo ngokono ke tenten ka jube anim fanan dolla political party o min keta doyti o sasal ni o courant mi yalon ko benna banko kam min tata bankol nin kenol la karola ka jube mun solution o tije intenak folo mbe juberlal ni lamoy lalu bolose la mbulo mutata kudol to demande jandi ba ko lambina no programme date tan ko o kolam fanam Mr. Maneh be bismillah la programme woni do nte ku kilin dammalen birimbina ñim programme to wala ben hakilo kono wala nimbota to December 4th 2021 silam abinake la ñaali la kotake kato wo gallankorol wo kole abundal min be keri ñin kene ku kuwol to sayinteng dolu fote niyol laje community dammal kono na kabilol damma ngaje mol wulta ye ñoo kelandi ye ñoo fa ngaje dolu fote la baluwol laje ngaje dandangolu na balu lembang na farol lembang kabo faraba bantan la kata fo kata basela kata bula fo badigula kole akul be kering je diamol be kering bare manam ko min humarta wo bankolo bundala hani sayin fe molni pati kote ni fere man fintina ka ko bakela na manke ko jama ka min fo be sembola la yembe tajirante ala la je mbakelate wo sayna ma watoti nyanta ka lamoy ka politicien lamoy ya bunda ibe munakala je ni woyen kono fa wolto nyanta nala nakarte ke sol sikala ka di wonna safiyo ye damento mana brimbe dun kan ngal tara bunda mento je kuma ta bake bare Mr. Maneh ntela fite nyinin kala bunda kile nakato mu molti mi yaran ko nyi ma famala ifa hamta je bake ning niya jube na kenol kata ikadi real estate company la wol kam minke ika bungol loje ka kenol wafi moluma business model ol min kata maja sifa siata te mbo wala je kam bari mamminje ndala jakale bunda be damento nanyine karo fana be taw ma famol la Mr. Maneh ya sayin wala ko community be create kam ngajele ko mol min bulol ye ko ben wala kata sifa ye bulal to dol keta bulal ti ka fo min ye gated communities say talabunda antala jerinde to talabunda bina soto balu anu soto tangol tema ila miroto si o nyato kuntuno nyaadile anim fanan mon problème si falle mo si la no minima min tambita tek ngam min fotek Allah kuma bal nyato
no maneta mais modolo be nyinin karo ke kan ako abe subscribe la nyaadi le mala be subscription si fa mema but nin ko di jolomu ni tata doy la website ibe donation o keno la jele ni tata ni doy la app na download because nga app soto ni download ibe donation o keno la jele so www.pdois.org ibe donation o keno lo fana to le adum Euro branch fana isi contact ko keno jele natare biti mari be Europe le isi contact ko keno le Euro branch isi safero keno jele be jabila le be direct le be do joro kala nyame ni be Gambia le fana ni onkul idi contact wala kek sane contact be momon ding mi alon ko doyin kolom ni a contact be direct le be joro kala nyame ni ka register le mo comme member na website o men foe wala app ni istano jele ya download ibe page jele be register da men mo be safela kaji ko registration o confirm tale woto mbe badum be encourage la al programme o nyin sea ngajelo ko modbe la frin ka join ka joro ke ali nga wakili because Gambia mun ter be tat ning nga doy muta ngam fawol le muta mi be ko ku ke kan mo ne man tala Facebook o bot ni ajo wakil tam finte nanare benna Facebook kan Facebook o parce que ngajelo ko Gambia be ta kan nyame lafta falindro e taraje so ntes nyine keno ete fana se men keno pour ko falindro ni effective so mo kana le to de hako be nyen Maneh kunan ko bari Lamin ay fenne fo janda ka man mono to de yen o ko fati kunan ko la so abela question o jaglo ko le fana sa na
ata sotola
ala baraka bake nka buti wo ben sene o mafulol te majambi alhamdulillah ngo wala nan ko fo Gambia be badin ko di so yala it's so important in West African region in sene o ya cosine job mi soto je it helps a lot historically the mole call used has a conflict resolution so it's so effective so Maneh kunnan ko sa kan fa nyanya ni dambe kunnan ko ka min bula ko bulal nim flow ka mi bula ko bulal nim fati ko ka mi bula ko bulal. So that's so beautiful about it. But abaraka ba ke fati ko ko baraka albe jola kay butung a question mean ask important about. But I'm going to take us back to Ning Fenko. Ninga start no jandi bilanko karamo. Te yalla ninko karamo jobi en ka confuse le mol kame ni tata university wonte da karamo to karamo. Karanjamal be kirin dunia kono. You see. Ning doy ka mol karangele. Man for you understandable. Doy the focus of doy is to educate people. Because ni citizen no educator you empower them. You see. So nyim bank wa fol mi be kirin fa nga start janite binala. People don't even understand that Isela banko waf nole the certain ways of selling your land. Isela banko waf nole leasehold instead of freehold. Whereby somebody can buy your land, but they can have a limited time. They can own it for 50 years or 99 years or 125. It's left to you. Okay? Somebody also can have your land. They can build on your land. Their family can live there, but they can pay you what they call ground rent for now. There's so many methods there and so many use know. But when it comes to the land problem or in Combo, but actually, when we speak about the land problem in Combo, we want other people outside of Combo communities are to be very, very careful, because whatever is happened to Combo is probably going to come your way. Yeah. So right now is the time to prepare yourself, educate your people. Yeah, for any more now they want to buy your land. Tell them no. What do you want my land for? They said, okay, I want to build an estate. He said, no, I don't want to sell you my land. I've got a suggestion. I've got a better option. What is that option? I would like to go into a partnership with you. I'd like to get into a cooperative with you. I own my land. You bring your finances. We make a development of housing for the Gambians, for the common Gambians. Everybody benefits. It's very important. But the question is all about people not being aware, not being informed. So any estate developer, they're all over the place because we know what is happening. Because land is making people very, very wealthy. Combo land is making people so wealthy. I'll give an example, an anecdote. There's an area in Brufut, they call it Brufut Heights. Okay? I went there a few years back when I was doing my research. I met a guy there. And then I just wanted to see what's going on there. And I went to speak to this guy. He wanted to sell the land to me. It's 40 by 35 or something. It's 40 by 40 maybe. The guy wanted $4 million for it. You see? Then through the conversation, I told him, wow, I said, that's a lot of money. That's very expensive. Then we had a conversation. I said, you know, this land you're trying to sell is actually the Brufut community, the Combo community leased it to the government in 1970. 1969, the process started. In 1970, the lease came into effect. But this lease was for 50 years. Okay? But in 1992, apparently this lease was extended by another 49 to make it to 99 years. So that means the lease still runs out in 2069. So you're selling me a land where in 2069, this land actually needs to belong back. It needs to go back to the owners. He didn't understand. It's like, that's not possible. I'm like, well, that's the law. This is not freehold. Combo community gave their land to the TDA on a leasehold for 50 years. It was extended. We don't know how it got extended, but their argument is it got extended. Otherwise, the lease would have finished this year. But then apparently this was extended for another 49 years. But still doesn't mean that in 2069, I might not be alive, but I'm trying to educate my fellow Combonkers to know that when this time comes, make sure people leave your land. The whole of the TDA, it don't belong to you. It was leased to you. So what we have, coming back to Mr. Fatih's answers, you got these very, very expensive buildings there. Like you said, they're becoming gated communities. The other day, somebody sent me a message. I think it was posted on Facebook. Somebody's trying to sell a land in a building or something. It's about $350,000 or something in Brufut. This is somebody's ancestral land. They've not got a penny from it because the government says it's a TDA. And they get these back channels. Other people are buying this off land. They're selling them off for millions of dollars. Why the owners don't even have a penny from it? So it cannot go on. So coming back to your answer, Mr. Fatih, but the way the situation is going, it's not tenable. It's come to a certain stage whereby there's going to be some sort of civil strife. I mean, you have them here and there, a single person dying there, a single person being attacked there. But it's come to a certain stage. It will come to a stage if you don't do something whereby you're going to get communities, these people who live in gated communities, because what they do is like, I'll give you this estate developer as an example. I need to use him as an example. No names anyway. It's not important. But this guy fenced nearly 6 square kilometers of Bruford. The roads that were there for hundreds of years, he blocked them all. Yeah. So anytime there is rain, heavy rain, anybody who lives behind that fence, they have a struggle. Their house gets flooded. Their whole compound gets flooded because the pathway the rain used to take to go to basically drain into the ocean was all completely blocked. And then in part of his planning there was nothing there to say, let me compensate, let me try and put some mechanism in place whereby this rainwater, because the people live higher up on the ground, they live a little bit higher up, the water needs to flow, natural flow towards the sea. I block this. So let me try and make some gutter or gully or something whereby the water can go. No, he didn't care. He just fenced it all off. So all the people behind him in the rainy season, their houses get waterlogged. So they live in these wonderful houses. They call it Bruford Gardens or AU Villa. The people, the natives live behind them. So how do you think those people are going to feel? How are they going to feel? It's their land you took in concert with the Ayajame. Now, when the rainy season comes, they struggle to even live in their house. So how long is that going to continue? You think one day there's going to be a spark, and those people are going to rise up against you. So again, let me just to completely that to fix all that problem, Gambian they need to support Doi, but Congolans importantly need to support Doi because Doi is not a solution to our land problem. All these other parties, me, I deal with them in the background, write to them, lots of them, and not only me as an individual, because we got combo groups. We write to them. We're the only party, a party member, a senior member of a party, who gave us categorically what they will do to fix the problem is Doi and Uncle Sidia. It's not really that. He told me what is happening is wrong, we fix it. So if Congolans want their problem fixed, they can help the Gambia fix the Gambia's problem by voting for Doi. Gambia's problem will fix Gambia's problem at the same time. Alabara.
I am shocked that Khalifa used to talk about these things. He said our development or lack of it is not, there's no proper planning behind it. There's in fact no planning behind it, talk less of planning. So it means these structures, these real estate companies, all you need is maybe a sackload of money. You go and see some Alcalo or some Sefo, and there will be a little meeting between some community members and perhaps somebody from the ministry and physical development, Department of Physical Development, and so on and so forth, then these structures will come up. This is basically it. So it means there are probably policies and laws from government guiding the usage of these community lands. But it seems to me also that enforcement, I'm speaking right now in English because I've seen comments that some people express the need to understand what we are talking about. This is why I deviate from Mandinka. So, wow, this is terrible. This is terrible. It means that the state, the state apparatus is not functioning as would be expected of not a failed state to make sure laws are implemented and equally enforced. This is making me sweat. We are losing our country, it seems, to affluent business women and men. And at the end of the day, the people who government should be protecting are left totally exposed to these toxic financial devices. Savio, I will throw this back to you. this nearly knocked me off my feet. To be honest with you, I know the situation was bad, but to this extent.
Brother Lamin Abaraka Bake and brother MANNEH. Mbe personal experience do Kachalani. War is my personal experience. Ngameso. Kabri masatalla en so fenna lafta ka korda to kombo wato min. Kubete kan kombo kono nialo. Broda ayente kijo farle. Na broda e occasiono nsafo français ko occasiono wala mu ay opportunity doloje. Boy dole lafta kalafta business solo wulindila. Ako kenolo babulu kaytol be complete le kaytol be complete be babulu. Asulata kodola pour ka business on nyubulindi. Nka okay nda fana be sulari kenola le so si keno nyin samno le but wisely ngalo ya tare pour ka block ko nyin no. Data alkalo miya alkalo nyin akadi ngol ka korda ko taman alkajo nyin din sabala babu ama fo nye din juma bara ko adi ngol wolle ka korda ko tamandi wo blat bari kabrin na broda ko mo fo nye wato nkaen ko fondin ke nyin akata la mu kenot akonye ha kay ton babulu atolo babala bari family kenolo muso afama e je diala nkaen ko fama contact ta fama niya inim fama si ale kacha ay nokumo may atata nim fama si te kachara fama nyin nata je jibe wato minna a surprise tale adimol ye 2 km kena hanala lo mantara jele freng adimol ye 1.5 km be wato amamba kala a soktal kene dol beje kabrayo ko investigate kene dol beje alkalo nyin dinke sabo be stamp clean be bebul kene clean beje mo saba wala nata alkalo din different mo saba comme anyin don nata nyin alkalo din dole ya waya approve anata nyin alkalo din do fana ya fana nga approve atata nyin alkalo din do fana ya fana nga approve parce que pa bi nyin dingol siatale di wodi yamuta kontel tamu janti so nyindo ngamuta tamu damenta ayawa for the same place nyindo fana ngamuta ko atalam ayawa nyindo fana ngamuta talam ayawa ibele ko dol buleku do ya ba ko eleta wonata do maro wo emuneke do wo business o establish nyimo sabo mume be in intere nyanta nani lanu wo keno intere keno le be nani ibe kayto vali kayto le sote bulu but menga wori menga niotora ko nyin kono wala nyinte woli o kayto soto nyaade len tella structure comme kata ka keno list dame wala structure be nyaade le wol fol malo ba nyim ploto wafita la fuka pare wala mon nyini karot albumo flo be munaka nyim kol sam
okay. Baraka Bake, Mr. Drami, Mr. Fatia, Baraka, the viewers, I'll be content back. It's like it's just basically emphasizing what Mr. Fati said. Really, we don't have policies and structures that are working in that place. I mean, it's the land thing, especially in Combo, is the corruption. The corruption involved in it is mind blowing. I mean, you got people either planning, physical planning, or lands. Basically, they are just there to enrich themselves. Yeah. So they basically, you can skirt all the rules if you got enough money, if you got enough contacts, if you got the right contacts. You don't have to follow any rules really. You can skirt all the rules, you can break all the rules, and you'll get away with it. So for me, my concern always is this, and I don't want to sound very pessimistic, but where does that lead us really in the end? But to come back to what Mr. Driver was saying, you got so many scenarios like that in the Gambia. Somebody will sell one plot of land to multiple people, and he sell one piece of land will be sold by multiple people to multiple people. so one piece of land got different sellers and to different buyers. Yeah, but there is got a solution to that, and as well. I articulated this a little while back in my open letter to Hussein Dabo a long time ago, and then also an open letter to somebody else, and then also some articles I've written, whereby it's come to a stage whereby the Gambia we need to what they call a cadastral survey, a cadastral land mapping. Basically, you map the whole land in Gambia from top to bottom. Then you know who owns what land, how they own it, and who owns the land, where is the land, who owns it, and how did they own it. Yeah. So this can be mapped. You can have what they call geolocations, number one. So, for example, you were saying, how do you know who owns what? If you got a cadastral survey, the whole country is mapped. Each plot is all got geolocation maps. They all geolocate. You got geolocations on geotag. The right terminology is geotagging. So, if I want to sell land to you in Bruford, it's latitude 4500W, latitude 4450W west. Okay, so that belongs to you already. It's on the cadastral survey. So I cannot sell that to you. Yeah. So I go to the land survey. They put the what's it called the latitudes in, whatever you want to call them, the geotag, and they know, oh, this land actually already belongs to Mr. Fati anyway. So you cannot sell it to Mr. Drame. And some of these obviously they will cost money, but there are international organizations that can help Gambia to do this kind of thing. They can implement this. So, but there's no will there. You know, the Gambia, the sad thing is like Jawara's government, he basically failed to demystify. He failed to demystify what modern day nation state is. So you see, there's a big distinction between Mansaya, Mansa Kunda, and a president who people voted. Mansaya, that is a very big Mandinka thing. That goes back to Mali. That goes back to to even Fullers and then Sanu Mali Mitinyana on Olof's Bur. That's a completely different thing. That is somebody who nobody basically whatever they say goes. You see. So that is what the first regime, the first republic, that was the worst mistake they ever did to Gambians. They didn't actually teach us to become civically aware. Again, I always like us to go back to Senegal. Compare us to Senegal. A Senegalese, contemporary, let's say, when Gambia got independence, the same time, a Senegalese is more civically aware and engaged than the Gambian, on average, even to these days. Either is my age, or I'm older than you people. Even the ones younger than you, their age. If you compare us with Senegalese, they know far more than us, because they are able to have this culture, which Senghor promoted. And Senghor did that for a reason. And then also some historical facts here, by the way. It goes to do with colonialism. During colonialism in France, they have to send their people to few of their representatives have to go to Paris. So they call them députés in the House of Parliament in France. That's why the word député actually come into our lexicon, but it's not a Gambian term. We got House of Representatives. But the Senegalese are so used to sending somebody to France. In those days, there's a guy called Blaise. That's the guy they named the new airport after. He was an MP in France. And Senghor was an MP in France. So they brought that democracy back, where you got civil engagement back to the Gambia. So, but we don't have that, because we had a governor back in the Gambia who was speaking on our behalf. In contrast to Senegalese, whereby they have to send their representative to speak on their behalf in the parliament in Paris. You see. So that's the historical problem there. But that's no excuse for Jawara's regime not to basically teach Gambians to make them civically empowered and to civically engage them and to civically educate them. So we got this Mansaya keep on narrative continued. So that was one big mistake. So when Yahya Jammeh came, he is brutal. He's just an animal. God forgive me. Yeah. So I mean, I don't mean animal like an animal, but his behavior is not a civilized person. Yeah. I'm sure we can say that. Okay. So yeah, Jawara didn't help us. Jammeh came and just basically destroy all of it. And then now we got Barrow, who is absolutely just clueless. You see. So that's why, once again, our salvation is Doi. If we speak to Doi, these people are very, very rounded. They'll give you, they're very, very rounded. That is very important. We always mention this. Doi is very, 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 very rounded. Okay. So you see, so they will do this whereby they can teach people, they can empower them. That has always been Doi's job. How did I become Doi? Now I can tell you this. My late uncle, he passed away. Now, he's also my cousin, by the way, Abbas MANNEH. He's my family. So he was Doi's candidate. When we were kids, he would bring this Foroya.
I will read them, even though I don't understand half of it. But it actually improved my spoken English, it improved my written English, and it made me who I am today. So me, I am a Doi disciple, and I'm not ashamed to say it. And I know Doi is our solution, because Doi, number one, what they do is to educate you. Yeah. So if you make decisions, you don't make informed choices, you don't make informed decisions. That is the problem. So this is what do I want to do away with? This ignorance, when people don't even know their rights. They don't know you can sell your land, but you have a certain way of selling your land that you don't lose it forever. And people need to live. We can develop the land for farming. We can set up places whereby we can build factories, but it doesn't mean the customary owners of the lands lose out. So once again, though is our solution. So my message is to come bunkers, especially people in Brufut. If you take Abbas, his stance in Brufut, what he's done to Brufut. Brufut, there was a time somebody will tell you, we used to sit in those days, they sit common entrance. We were so very high there. People used to come from all over the Gambia to come to Brufut so that they can pass their common entrance because of Abbas. So he is somebody, he's always been an activist. So today he's not with us. He passed away some months back. I think Doi and people in Brufut, we owe it to Abbas. We owe it to Abbas, Kombonkers, but especially what they call Brufut and what they call a sedimentary ward. We owe it to Abbas, to his legacy, what he stood for us to take the Doi's message and vote for Doi so that we can have the system change. Because as Khalifa said, we have changes. Jawara went, Jammeh came, Barrow came, but the system hasn't changed. Only Doi can bring that. Allah Baraka.
In a nutshell, the diagnosis of the problem here, or the genesis of this land macabre, goes back more than 50 years. It is in fact, according to Mr. MANNEH here, it's tied to the first day that we supposedly became independent. I think if we are going to broaden this discussion a little bit, we will see most of our problems are in fact inherited from that period. So there was no concerted effort to build a nation, but first of all, to build this citizen that is needed to be part of this community of people that make up this nation. So that's why we are having these land problems. I'm just trying to put into perspective here what Mr. MANNEH has just deeply delved into. So if we go to the agricultural sector, we will equally see the spiral of the land problem has touched that also, because Safion was kind enough to send me an audio from Uncle Suaibu Toure, where he briefly put together, diagnosed this problem, but talked about how this problem also gave birth to the unproductive agricultural sector we have in the Gambia. Exactly. We can see also if the agricultural sector is not generating economically what it should or what it potentially could, then that will lead also to problem in the health sector, in the education sector, in the security sector, and so on and so forth. So in a nutshell, DOI is the only political party, from my perspective, that is bringing a comprehensive solution to all these sectors, just probably beginning with one sector and making sure it weave into all these other sectors. So we talked about this very often on our platforms, on social media, and so on and so forth. If you believe that you have a better program, better policies than the People's Democratic Organization for Independence and Socialism, you can invite us to any platform to present it to us, and we will have debates. Or if you want vice versa, you can also come to our platforms. The Gambian people ultimately are the kings and queens of decision-making process. So it will be then left to them I will use this opportunity to invite the United Democratic Party to this platform, or they can invite us to their platforms to talk about their transformative agenda, the loopholes, the unripeness. I'm not going beyond bounds here to make a political attack on anybody or anybody's document or efforts here, but I'm talking because we have gone beyond sentiments. We now have to be brave enough to point out faults that are probably in some people's perspective on how to develop a nation. Over to you, Brother Safian.
Baraka Bake, Brother Lamin lagi invitation on taba specify lafta Haidara al damaya nadoi kachato. Mbe Yunus Haidara invite la versus Lamin Fati Haidara na Pdois doi kacha. Albe alena alngal challenge alena kacha. Ni rumors mengaron ko ani safer kalantawol men bebe kere. I openly invite both of you in your own time, your own date. Ndebe available in the program you moderate, and I can 100% assure you, if I give you 10 minutes, I will give Lamin 10 minutes to explain yourself and to explain the program and policies you have. So what boring collage
Safion hakatu ngenya to kuntuje nantle maintaining Yunus le invite la jawaranto moko teng ntela accept nta konta sonta hani kabo soma la hani soma ndani yang kumandi janni kada soma fango mina jankato Gambia la ko balafa afutata woldo fonga wulinga nyatile nyola fonga senka.
Exactly. So altulo ya moyle
Mr. Mane la fila fem fola ngamira.
Bismillah. Tamane ila bomu pray kacha. Be kacha la.
Yeah, the man wrong. Baraka Baki, Mr. Fatih, Mr. Drami. Like I said, I'll be trying to speak a lot of English. I saw my big brother, Mr. Olin Boj. Thank you, brother. He just actually mentioned that he told what the name was. So actually, Blaise Jan. I know they named the airport after him, but I couldn't remember his full name. Yeah, that's Blaise Jan. So anyway, thank you so much. He's a wonderful guy. And there's one thing I want to say is I don't want to sound big-headed or getting ahead of ourselves. But if you meet a Doi person, you hardly meet a Doi person who is not informed. I don't know if you've noticed this. You can never meet a Doi militant who is not informed. Do you know why? Because Uncle Khalifa and great Uncle Sidi and Abbas and the others, all they stress to us, the importance is to get yourself educated. And then this is not just sitting in a classroom, but actually making yourself aware. That's why people say, oh, Khalifa is always talking about the constitution. It's like, that is what basically governs our country. How are you going to hold that against him? Well, you see, Doi people, that's what I tell you, Doi militants, Doi supporters, if you meet them anywhere, they will, you can't have a debate with them. And I don't want to get it. I don't want to.
Mr. Mane, I won't call myself an informed or enlightened person, but I can say one thing about myself. I am always willing and ready to learn.
There you go.
At least this open mind belongs to me. I can take a lot of things inside.
Yeah, if I can jump in again, but that open mind, that's actually how you learn. If you're close-minded, you don't listen to what anybody says. But if you're open-minded, you're inquisitive because you want to learn other stuff because you don't know everything. But going back to the point of the Doi activists, Doi militants, because they get the trouble of actually learning about stuff. Don't just go rattling your mouth over the place, but actually take your chance. Read the Doi for a read whatever, read stuff. Then you can actually have a debate with people. So that's why you meet some Doi militants. They're not actually afraid to go into a debate with anybody. When it comes to rational debates, by the way, when it comes to these, debatable personalities, we shouldn't get involved in that because you see, our party leader doesn't get involved in that. He wants to have debates on issues, but not personalities. You see. So I think that's what I would like to add to Mr. Fatih anyway. Thank you.
Baraka Bake, program of 1 hour 14 minutes. Maybe na 10 minutes kafawama. yamaro mengalon ko abe bola atol da ndebe na yamaro kala folo be doyin kolu militant solu alnyim programme o sea al kala da wala ala wakili ale dono sono because ikana je ko $10 la bembulu 20 euro la bembulu wala 10 pound la bembulu wala 10 franc la bembulu wodo ya tale no ite be jutu la wo $10 wo 10 pound o ni wo 10 franc menna ni adum di doy la kuoto wo be sanso sanka mo dole mi alon ko doy la brancho lié moto samul masimul sammel ni di takay simol le be la famille tout kanje kin sama kono ibe takak sate nin sate be fata kam molma e diamundi kam so ita te wo kenol parce que ita man tra sokol hana hammo be le ta kenol but mo be jele mi alo nyin sama kono na sorta la balun to wularo akasele masimala ka akata activism la adu wonyanta kondon simon provide la dimbaya yenne so wo kamala ita se muna keno ifana men be bulu adu ata nyaawo nyande 5 lom 10 lom 20 lom 35 lom 100 lom 100,000 lom abondi ya fo doyin ko le ko alfana la nyinta ba ale ba ko falingala parce que même bega menol ni lamor la allah la menna wala mu nyinti ni butu to dum doy abe account la adi sula ta lon na wati ko lo nyindum te dawo da nyini karoke abe bole nyoto la ya dum momo bloko ko do yindum te dami adun tamun kula kunto yen nyini karo kale ba di tel sol filay folo en ay senya woton tele dami ro mu wolti al finti ale doy programme ol jibe al finti ali la moy doy la nan ni mol de kacha kan al salon al be mem folé ali wakili fenno mem bal bul ali adum di doy la koto mbe nga kaf nyoma nga nyim banko falé because chabo tata la say nga dundi moto kono le ngamala ndel la moto bu ka pousse de bu ka lo akoma ya pousse injino be jele al be sanso damala kala ko wo sanso mala ko dol ala keje moto e move ada te lola rakito le be dol budu su sareto be dol bul falo be dol bul doy la moto pareta adapta ka ya ko to gambia kana fly woto wo fly o kana fay koma ali nga wakili nga participate dol participate kan ngi dalela aske non te fente mbulu bari mbo wakil kan kana jang kakuma itete wonora conditionnel kenya kamala bari abebulu wakili yake je bobe kumala bake pour patio nyin sitano nyaato nyame mbenga mulo kaf nyoma kanatu nyobulu dolbe designing dale dolbe kafol kaf ka nyomale ngajelo ko birka mambare muso be jele me alon ko akam sol mobilize keni king safna do wola bobe mu banku do wola wotete ko do bondi yadundi doy la ko to fana banko la makoy so mbenna brodo sur bulale sal makoy sal yamari ka yamaro la fa carte men ngalon ko mbebe wala nyinin kan men nyanta ka gambia fali isal yamar wala mba fala de assalamu alaykum wa baraka brodo Lamin
ngambera dindingol foloyta ke bal sina labam ngajele ko lungolung social media to lambam bantabal to lambam farol to lambam nanyolu fam ika wul ika sila kata lepitano to ka foko bita pour kata ka wuluje kadu na lepitano lu sayingi na take kaburu ko lete mon mi yalon ko mbare musolum bañolum benkiñolu tol nyanta ka wuli ka loyla ko wala ka jeko gambia titano nyaato ning generation o jamana do bota je jamana do manna banko be burukalal mini bol tomoto kanna mini bol wulu kan ke sambana niyo dimoni ngu munyoni wo sabarota ina futa lepitano to fanan fembukane taraje fo saya mi yalon ka manyan nakake nin tata na karam ngoldo mba tarala karamu bunda karamu ni londo soto buka kiliya say mol mi yalon ko kata fo ji karam modo ni dia muta waranto ni saferoke ni ya jube e balasifa labata mim moyla waranto diamu mi bekeri ni watin kono ak doata nyaaw nyanto labadi uma famala Sénégal ma engrais o soto be min kele la seno ila fife ngol kan pour ka je ye yuruwa e fana sila baluwo sone yande no je ngaje na sanyam badalo na gunjur badalo Ahmed Banjandol dol be wulle ba kelala e ba kuwol fola e ba safela ngaje ndandamol be tinya kan nyame nata jube ko fanan ndammalu na kabilol dammamol be dundi nyola e be kella nyola e be fala kena kuwol nin tata libyan tata morocco bi be gambian jama fondinke jama tarraje min yalon ko lenyande kelan na banko do kulani bari yara fam en jobita to la bala kon nyin akamunta ko banko manta nyato banko sotota banko man do kuno banko dimol me fan nafano banko la banko man fenkeno banko dimol ye ka foko ila balwo ila nyatota ila domoro ila sabati dula banko nyanta ay garanti o be man sota to ina be diamu kan waranto na alfal be diamu kan sanji tansabani lulu kana bula bila ntol dol kuluto kono fontol dol fana nata alhamdulillah ngan dabula je domandi mo mallon chahanola seriousness tam mamol yello wala min soto tan kaf ngani kumol min fota say min kola ya bundal bol bayla nyame nta bayno la danko don nda ko mol damala fonga na fengol le keji fonga wulle damalle kacha andu fonga wulle bereka so nga pay boxo kono People's Democratic Organization for Independence and Socialism nga lonko aketa nyawnya wala be kala dati dulati kanna kola ya kulu ke dandi ko isini so sambano bato warando kola to furayte mi bari ta forcé mo la ila ko mo nyaro Mr. Mane
fati kunnan ko baraka bak drame kunnan ko baraka ko bi kany mba fulan bar muso ina munul sambali al mufulul be ali akata bake ya ngaya mai tusanew ali akata bake wallahi no baraka bake ya fo nyaminum. If you look at the health sector, the amount of corruption there, I mean, you, for example, we, all of us, unfortunately, the Gambia, we're their backbone in the diaspora. So, quote unquote, somebody is ill, they take them to these private clinics. You realize the amount of money you have to pay for is substandard medical fee. But then the worst thing about it is like, if things got very, very all right there, these guys, they actually will basically send this patient, your family, to the government hospitals. So how are all these private clinics sprouting all over the Gambia? How are they getting licensed? They cannot even provide the most basic. So they're all fancy. They got these fanciful names. They go there, and then when this fencing gets I got personal experience of this, by the way, in my family. They went there to this private clinic. It costs you a fortune. You wire them some money. They're like, oh, they have to basically take him to Banjul. I'm like, but why Banjul? For these guys are meant to have better equipment, but they don't. So there's so much corruption in the country, they cannot even fix that problem. So it all goes back to this corruption. And then I don't want to make this very, very long anyway. I think we should also wrap this off. But I just want to give an anecdote. And then you live in Germany and you live in Italy. And I'm going to give you two examples. Okay. When a nation goes through a trauma, like our country went through a trauma for 22 years, you have to sit back. You get serious people. We go back and start, rebuild the foundation. You see. So that's how you actually healed a nation. But Gambia is not healing right now. 22 years of nightmare, of brutality, of most unimaginable atrocities happen in that country. It's not only the violence, it's the social fabric broken. We are both relatively young, older than you guys, but there are certain standards you expect from Gambians, and it's not there anymore. That country is utter chaos, you see. So that's why we need serious people who spend 35 years of their life actually studying the Gambia, because they are social scientists. They know what the solution is. So that's why DOI is our salvation. So I want to bring this anecdote of Italy and Germany. You live in Italy, Sophia, and you think, oh, it's a Western country, they're doing well. But Italy has a state doesn't function very well. Since the Second World War, since they got away, since they got rid of Mussolini, that fascist, and Italian government never lasts for 5 years. They always have to have a coalition government. and the coalition will always fail. You see, but they are functioning because they had the structures in place, and we don't have this. So after the Second World War, we had the Marshall Plan. The Marshall Plan helped Europe to develop them. They gave a lot of money to Germany. They gave some to Italy. But the Germans, they reconciled with their past. They went back to the foundation. They rebuilt their nation. So even though there's this grudge respect between the Brits and the Germans, the Brits will tell you German efficiency, because Germans were able to reconcile with the evil that happened. So the Jammeh is the effect Jammeh had our country is so deep-rooted. We need serious people to heal us. Otherwise, like I said, Italy survives today. Italy is operating because Italy is part of the Western Hemisphere. Italy is part of Europe. They won't let them go. But you see, anytime there is economicism, Italy, the state doesn't function. Yeah, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, all Italians used to rush to UK. So before he wrote fast food joints, African students, they work in McDonald's and stuff. Overnight, he just got full of Italian kids. And you see when the COVID hit Italy, because that's the state, it's a state that doesn't function properly. They have the structures in place, they don't have a choice, but it doesn't function properly because they never reconcile with the evil that was Mussolini and fascism. Yeah, Jammeh, if we have to go by the amount of people that live in a country, the effect Yahya Jammeh had on Gambians is much more severe than the effect Mussolini had on Italians. 50 years later, Italy is still struggling to deal with it because they never reconciled. They never went back to the drawing board. They never rebuilt their foundation. It's only patchwork. So Italian governments never last. I can tell you this. So they see today, you see Salvini talking a whole lot of Matteo Salvini. I say, Matteo, be careful. These African youths you actually castigated. They are the people that are the backbone of your economy because your youth don't live there. Italy is just full of old people. All right. I think on that note, it's been a long conversation. It's been very, very educative. I'm very honored to be here today. And I'm sorry, some guys were speaking in Mandinka, but there you go. But we hope that you can get the gist of what we're saying. But I'm going to stress what Mr. Drame said and what Mr. Fatih said. It's about us putting our hands in our pocket and contributing. If you live in the Gambia, you don't think you've got enough money, spread the message. Tell them, Jawara didn't demystify what a rule is for a modern state. Yahya Jammeh came and brutalized us. Barrow is clueless. You have your solution. It's Doi. Thank you.
That final part just made my night. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, greetings, brother Olimboj. Greetings, brother. Always.
Yes, Mr.
Great honor. Great honor.
Greetings.
Thank you.